Morning. Check 1, 2, we're good. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. It's a small, intimate group, so this should be as interactive as possible. If anybody has any questions throughout, that's fine. I'll do my best to answer them. I'll be around afterwards for a Q&A, and hopefully we'll get done with about 10 minutes to spare or so. But really, I've given some bigger presentations. I like the smaller environment where people can have questions and whatever it may be, and we can be flexible with the format. I'm really focusing today on just like simple practicality as for marketers. It's not like, sometimes presentations are more theoretical in nature, or like where the industry is, or inspirational in nature. This is none of that. It's just simple tools, techniques. I'm going to give you some templates, Excel templates, that will help you test your landing pages, your funnels better, and hopefully become a little bit more of a sophisticated marketer. So the title is called 9 Ideas to Think Long and Hard About Before Spending More Money on Traffic. So when it comes to internet marketing, there's really 2 big buckets of work we're doing. We're sending traffic to our website, and that could be through SEO or through PPC, through anything paid or organic. And then there's trying to figure out how to get more customers from the traffic we're having. And I'm going to be focusing on that second part. Just briefly, my name is Isaac Rudansky. I've already been introduced because we sort of skipped through this pretty quickly. I'm the founder of Adventure Media. We're an agency based in New York. I teach online. I teach a number of courses on different digital marketing topics. I have a master's in industrial psychology. This is Adventure Media. Very fortunate to get to come to work with these people, with the team we built. Some of the companies that we work with, some of our clients, we help with paid search. We help with landing page design, funnel optimization, business consulting, things like that. So I have some lecture resources. So if anybody wants to go to this link, bit.ly/DGU2019, and you'll be able to download a bunch of stuff. So let's take a look there. Yeah, okay. So there's a few different calculators. We're gonna go over the conversion rate profit calculator in a minute. There's a workshop handout which will walk you through how to run 5-second tests, which we'll talk about in a second. There's companion data for some 5-second test case studies we're gonna go through. There's an additional video tutorial you can download. Okay, whatever, you can play around with this stuff. This page, I'll keep this page up for whatever. I have no intention of taking it down, so you could use that you could play around with those resources. And some of them will be relevant to what we're discussing here. If anybody's not able to access that page, just let me know, but it seems to be working. So again, bit.ly/DGU2019. So we're dealing with conversion rate here. So the percentage of website visitors that take some revenue generating actions on your website, that's what a conversion rate is. It's not necessarily tied to total volume of conversions, right? Because conversion volume might go up or down independently of conversion rate, depending on the amount of traffic you're having. And while we typically think of conversions as, the main phone calls, online sales, case study downloads, form submissions, things like that, a conversion could be anything that really relates to revenue in some sort of linear way. So it might be like a view of a key page. If you have data that says people who get to this page are typically going to visit our store or something like that. So that's what a conversion is. And it has nothing to do with buying traffic. So the 9 ideas that we're gonna run through today are all focused on helping you incrementally improve your conversion rate. And again, not necessarily tied to buying more traffic. So the purpose of improving design is to make things just more pleasant, useful to use, right? So whether it's design in the real world, it's design in the online world, in the internet world, it's really fundamentally the same concept. It's making things more useful, more easy, more pleasurable to interact with. For websites and landing pages, conversion rate is the metric most reflective of good design. So I was in a hotel, I think this was about a year and a half ago with my wife, and I'm in the bathroom in the morning trying to figure out how to turn on the faucet. And I'm looking for the handles, and after a few seconds I figure out that the handles are in front of the sink, right? Not conventionally where handles for a sink typically are. So I turn to my wife and I say, this is bad design. And it is bad design, and you could easily be implementing non-conventional elements into your website and landing pages, and you'll be frustrating the user as much as you might be frustrated early in the morning trying to turn on the sink. Going into launching new campaigns, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I deal with in-house marketing teams and client marketing teams, and there seems to be a big lack of people's own core competencies. So idea number one of the morning is developing a marketing competence matrix before you go and launch a campaign. And this is really relevant to anything, whether it's an SEO campaign or a PPC campaign, whatever it may be, just knowing what you don't know. And over time, I've thought about this a lot, and I put together a lot of data, and I sort of rubricate this into 3 columns. And I think this is really applicable to any marketing campaign. You have the declarative procedural knowledge, and just let's say, for example, you're launching a Google Ads campaign. You just need to know where things are, how things work, like what button, how do you launch a new campaign, like what is SEO, like what is on-page optimization, whatever it may be. And so you need to have a checklist of things you need to just know how to do, what your team knows how to do. And then there's principles of salesmanship. Like those principles, understanding the buyer journey, principles of persuasion, etc. And then there's knowing how to experiment and how to test properly. And all 3 of these are integral. Like if you're missing too much out of any of these columns, you're unlikely to succeed. And I've actually started putting together, it looks a little boring, it hasn't been beautified yet, but it's a working template. If anybody wants this, I'm working on this over time, so if you want to email me afterwards, I'll be happy to send this to you. But basically it's building out these columns connected to different resources. So for example, copywriting. If somebody on your team doesn't know anything about copywriting, there'll be a link to a copywriting resource. And when they learn a little bit about copywriting, they'll be able to check off the box dynamically. It'll increase the percentage completion of that column of the competence matrix. And as you check off more boxes in each column, you're able to see the likelihood of succeeding in a marketing campaign. And you could change the weight of each column, but in most of the time you want to sort of give each column an equal weight. So that's like the first idea, right? It's not specifically a conversion rate optimization tactic, but it's just like fundamentally understanding what holes do you have in going into launching a marketing campaign. So I'm going to work on building this over time. Like I said, if you want to, I'm going to add more resources to it. I'll make like a PPC version, a CRO version, whatever it may be. So feel free to email me and I'll give you access to that template. A couple quick book recommendations. Claude, Hopkins, Scientific Advertising. He was considered is anybody familiar with this book? Okay, well, not too many people, so this is a really, really good book to read. He was considered the true father of modern advertising. David Ogilvy, which we're more familiar with because his agency is bigger and he's just more well known, and he lived a little bit later. He referred to Claude Hopkins as the true father of modern advertising, his mentor, and he really pioneered a lot of concepts in A/B testing. This idea that advertising didn't have to be, throw stuff at the wall, see what works, but tracking results, improving results, keying results. He was a really well-known copywriter, and this book really did change how I thought about my career and things that we do. Another good book, a much more recent book, Story Brand by Donald Miller. Copywriting is hard, and it's easy to test like button colors and a headline, but like real copywriting is hard because you have to figure out what type of story, the information architecture of your site, and he builds a really good framework for helping you figure out how to do that effectively. So those are just 2 quick book recommendations. Idea number 2, front load your social proof. I don't really hear people talk about this so much. I'm not sure if it's a term that I coined or not, but most websites and landing pages, like we know about reviews and testimonials and customer proof, but from a visual hierarchy perspective, they don't take it seriously enough. So badges, awards, status, validity indicators, we put them in the footer, we put them in some like slider, and Tim's here, and we all know how much Tim hates sliders, right? No one reads the second slide, and no one usually could read the first slide because it moves away too quickly. So scratch the sliders and move up your testimonials to the top of the page or right below the hero section. So this is a screenshot of one of our service pages, and where we typically put like just the services, we started putting testimonials with a lot of visual prominence, nothing fancy, right there. The reason why this works is people care more about what other people like them think about your products or services more than anything you'll ever be able to say about your products or services, because there's a natural psychological defense mechanism when you're promoting your products and services that you just want to make a sale, and that's the truth. So if you have legitimate testimonials that are impactful and that are done right, very simple trick. Just give them more visual prominence, right? Very easy to do. It's a quick thing. It's a 5-minute fix, and it'll impact conversion rate. And I'll show you how some of these techniques impacted our own conversion rate in a few minutes. It's easy and it's quick, worth doing. Idea number 3, Optimize the content for the goal of the page. So this is an interesting thing because when you're dealing with a company that has a lot of different people in the kitchen saying what should be on a page, whether it's a home page or it's a service page, you could end up with like a big goulash of information, a lot of it being unnecessary. And most web pages have a lot of content that not only don't support the primary goal of the page, most people when pressed and asked, what is the primary goal of this page? They don't really know, they haven't really thought about it. So first, make sure you know that every page on your site has a goal. It might not be to convert, it might be to go to a second page. But make sure there's a goal, and then does the content, the images, the videos, does it support that goal? So here's an example of a client landing page. This is a long form page. Now this wasn't the first page that the client came to us with. This was a page that we had tested and we developed over time. We changed how they viewed pricing, we changed how they spoke to their customers, and this increased conversion rate from their original version by about 15 to 25%. So we added FAQs, we added testimonials, we added scarcity with a limited time sale. We added a lot of information. This is a client that sells portable oxygen concentrators. They do it all through a sales team, and they spend well into the six figures on PPC per month profitably. I was sort of hit like a wall with improving the conversion rate on the page, and I was laying in bed one night and I just sort of had like this epiphany, and I was realizing that the primary goal of this page is not to sell the customer on anything. The primary goal of the page is that form submission up there on the top right hand in the hero section that customers fill out so they can see today's price list. We don't show them the prices on this page because the manufacturers of these machines don't let us show certain sale prices. So the customer just has to fill out their information so they can see the price. And I'm showing them FAQs and product features and blurred out prices, and these are all things that are more psychologically related to an actual sales page. So I thought that maybe we're putting people into the mindset where they feel that if I'm on this page, I have to make a decision if I want to buy or not, because this is all buyer-related content. So, so this is like just different elements of the page because I wanted you guys to see it. Hard to fit all on one slide, but it was a long page. Anyway, so on the left-hand side is the redesign. So it has 86% fewer words, 100% fewer images, and 100% fewer reviews, FAQs, and elements of trust. It's just, and I think it's decent copywriting for the client. We tested it a few times, but it's very simple. It's like, all we want you to do is fill out the price list. It doesn't cost you anything to take a look. There's no pressure. We just can't show you the prices legally on this page. So name, email, and fill out the form. And the results were pretty immediate and pretty impactful. So it was a 50% increase in conversion rate, and that's a lot. For this client, it resulted in 60 additional leads a day and $12,000 a day in daily revenue, just from changing the way we looked at the page. In a few slides, I'm going to talk to you about when long form copy works better and how to construct that. But it's not about like long form versus short form. It's more understanding what's the goal of the page, how will a visitor perceive this information, and how could we cater most efficiently, quickly, to the supporting goal of the page. So that's idea, I think that was idea number 3. So optimize the content for the goal of the page. Idea number 4, part of testing with confidence and being a sophisticated marketer is being able to analyze the financial impact of tests. This is something we spoke about briefly on our panel yesterday. You can't go into a test blindly with missing 2 elements, not knowing how much testing is going to cost you or your company, and not knowing what you need to do to make money through the test, and how much money the test is making, or how much money the test is losing if things don't work out. So this is one of the templates you have on bit.ly/DGU. You could download it, you can copy it. If you're logged into Google, you can make a copy of this template, as many copies as you'd like. You can play around, plug and play. Anything in blue is editable, it's a variable. Any text in black is the output of the formula, just in case you want to play around and plug in your own numbers. And there's a couple different tabs on the sheet. So you could have, like, there's inputs for the cost of the test, and there's other tabs that analyze tests using conversion volumes and a conversion rate. It's just math done in a different way. But you could see, if you have a conversion rate that starts at 10%, and you improve your conversion rate to 18%, your daily traffic stays the same. That's what's important here, because we want to look at this, we want to look at the conversion rate impact by itself. You're going to put in on this tab, there's not an input for LTV of the client, but the next tab actually incorporates the lifetime value of a new lead and conversion rate. But when you do something like this, you're able to go to your client and say, okay, look, we've gotten an additional 160 conversions a day, additional revenue. In column C, there is actually lead value, lifetime value of leads, and you could actually look at that as a customer value, a lead value, depending on how you want to analyze these numbers. And then you could go to your client and say, okay, listen, we're doing $17 million in additional revenue a year because we've increased the conversion rate from 10% to 18%. Now those are big numbers, and you're not going to typically increase your conversion rate from 10% to 18%, but it certainly could happen. And you could use a template like this predictively to look into the future, like, okay, where do we need to be? How much do we need to increase conversion rate by to make this testing program worth our while? And you could also look at it retroactively, saying, okay, well, we've done these tests. These are the actual numbers. Like, let's see what the financial impact to our business has been. Okay, so that's idea number 4. Being able to move from going to your coworkers or your clients saying, hey, yeah, we did a good job. We increased conversion rate by 5%, to saying, well, we increased conversion rate by 31%, and that means we're getting this amount of leads a day. We're getting this amount of additional sales a day. We could pull back on our spend by this amount and maintain the level of leads. We've saved money if that's the goal of the business at that given time. All right, so that's idea number 4. Number 5. This is interesting. It's very simple math, and the concept is profit is more sensitive to an increase in conversion rate than revenue. And I've spoken to a lot of marketers about this idea, and while it's very easy to understand, most people don't look at it this way from a mathematical perspective, but it's very, very powerful when it comes to convincing either a client or your own team to invest in improving conversion rate and invest in optimizing your site or overall funnel. So let's take a few different variables here. So we have, how much are we going to increase our conversion rate by? So let's say we're going to increase our conversion rate by 2x. What is our cost per unit sold? Margins, okay, 30% margins, let's just say. This is just an example. Lifetime customer value, $80, and let's say we're assuming we have 2,500 visitors a month, but this formula works, it's the same thing whether you have 10 visitors a month, 10 million, etc. Okay, so scenario 1, with our original results, let's just say our conversion rate is 7%. Total conversions, 175, because 175 is 7%, 2,500. Revenue, $14,000, right? 175 times 80. Now here's what's important. Your fixed costs. Businesses have fixed costs. If you're advertising, that's a fixed cost. If you're advertising to get those 2,500 visitors a month, it's a fixed cost. That cost doesn't go up if you improve your conversion rate. Your rent would be considered a fixed cost. Yeah, sure, if your business grows enormously, you have to move into a new office, but there are fixed costs in a business, and that's integral to this formula. There's variable costs. Every unit sold, or every time you sign a client, there's going to be a cost associated with that, and we have 30%. That's our margin. So there's variable costs that go up in relation to how your sales go up. Profit. So profit's easy. You subtract 9,200 from 14,000 over here to get $4,800. Now let's take a look at our improved results. So our conversion rate doubled, right? So we're going to have a 14% conversion rate. Our conversions doubled. You could just 175 times 2, or 14% of 2,500. Revenue doubled, $28,000. Again, $350 times 80. Your fixed costs, here's what's important. They stay the same. Fixed costs stay the same, assuming you didn't move to a new office. Variable costs go up, right? You take revenue times 30%, and your profit is $14,600 in this scenario. But let's just take a look at the percent increase between revenue and profit. Revenue doubled, right? 100% increase. Profit more than tripled. Because your fixed costs stay the same, your profit tripled while your revenue doubled. So in dollars, it's a $14,000 increase in revenue, $9,800 increase in profit, but you can't just look at it at a dollar value. You have to look at it at a percent increase. And the idea here is, if you could show people, and you could show your client or your coworkers this idea mathematically, that if we could increase conversion rate, the rate that our profit will increase is more sensitive to these improvements than revenue increase, that's something which is very desirable to any stakeholders in any sort of company. So it's a really strong case to be made for investing and working on conversion rate optimization. And yes, I have a template for this. So again, this is the first link at bit.ly/DGU. Plug and play, put in your own business numbers, you can copy it. You can get rid of my branding, you could could change the logo to your own company's branding, and we send things like this to our clients all the time, and it's impactful. So you have the inputs, you have the results. It's the exact same thing we just did on the previous slide in a template form, and you could use it in your own business. And I think this is like a really exciting thing because it's easy math, it's an easy concept, and a lot of people just haven't thought about it in that way. All right, idea number 6, consider abandonment statistics. We've all heard the idea that clarity is important. It's important to communicate your message within 5 seconds of a visitor landing on your website or landing page. Has anybody heard that idea before? Like this, you have the 5 seconds to communicate what you do, your value proposition to a user. Is this a new concept, a foreign concept? Okay, so it seems like it's a slightly new concept. But anyway, so I knew about this, and about a year ago I started asking who says. Where does this come from? Like, it seems to be this like conventional wisdom that you got to really be clear with your headlines and subheadlines within 5 seconds, so your users are likely to abandon your page. So I started doing some research, and it turns out that Claude and colleagues from the Microsoft Research Center in 2010, they provided a mathematical analysis of user abandonment rates. They used a lot of data, over 2 billion dwell times. This is much more than usual in human-computer interaction studies. And they found that time spent on site follows a Weibull distribution of the Weibull hazard function. I had no idea what this was, so I looked it up, and it turns out that in the early 1900s, it was a formula used in factories to determine how likely a factory part would be to fail. What % likelihood is any given part in a factory, what's the chance of it needing to be replaced at any point in time? So Claude and colleagues, they replaced the likelihood of a part to fail with the likelihood of a user to leave your site. And they used the same distribution. And more significantly, they found that 99% of web page visitors have a negative aging distribution effect. And this is what it looks like. So you have time visiting the page so far in seconds, and probability of leaving the page right now. And within those first 5 to 10 seconds, visitors are much more statistically likely to abandon the page than they are 20 to 120 seconds into their visit. And this is interesting because if you go into a shopping mall, you have the opposite distribution effect. If you go to a department store, the longer you're in the store, the more likely you are to leave the store. Like, that is how the statistics play out. It's the exact opposite with landing page visitors. The longer they're on your site, the less likely they are to leave your site. It's a very, very interesting concept. Why is this the case? Psychologically, we've been conditioned to know that the majority of websites are bad. The majority of websites don't answer the questions we have. The majority of websites don't have the products that we can afford or that we want or that solve our problems. So we've conditioned ourselves psychologically to put new websites into this very harsh triage judgment period that lasts statistically around 5 seconds. And if we could quickly see that this is a website that will answer the questions we have, we'll stay. Like, it's sort of like guilty until proven innocent, as opposed to innocent until proven guilty. And I think this is a good thing. I think this represents a good opportunity to marketers, because if we had a positive aging distribution effect, that would tell us that most people think most websites are good, and they naturally will stick around. And that would be bad, because that would mean if most websites on the web were good, we'd have a much harder job making our websites better. But most websites on the web are crap. So you just need to be a little good to earn that, to get past that very harsh initial judgment and earn what is like an eternity on the web of two additional minutes of time. So the idea here is to understand these statistics and again, similar to the previous idea of understanding that profit is more sensitive than revenue, this is another idea that will cut through the noise and really help promote conversion optimization within your business. So you could now communicate that instead of just, okay, we're gonna throw some money at testing. You could speak like a more compelling marketer and say that if we can communicate our value proposition within the first 5 to 10 seconds of a session, it's a statistical certainty that will increase overall time spent on site and subsequently increase conversion rate. Idea number 7, the 5-second usability test. Brian Massey spoke about this briefly yesterday. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. On the resources, there's an 11-page handout where I walk you through step by step how to use Usability Hub to run these tests. But I just want to cover a couple quick examples. So the way this works is you show a screenshot or a wireframe, or usually the first thing a person sees when they land on the site, to strangers, people who haven't been to your site before. For 5 seconds, you take it away. And then once you take away the image, you ask the respondents, what do you think this company does? If you're communicating your message clearly, the majority of people should be able to communicate with relative accuracy what the company does, what value they provide their customers. So this is a client of ours. Okay, got 5 seconds, and we asked 75 people, what does this company do? That was their homepage, by the way. This is a pretty big company. Homepage, what value do they provide? So we got the 75 respondents, and the way you can't just go and get 75 responses and try to read each one, and especially if you're gonna do a larger sample size, and just sort of feel based on your gut instinct, which answers were better or worse. So I categorize, I think it's a pretty good technique, categorize all the responses into 3 different categories. So I use dead wrong, in the ballpark, and exactly right. So if you have 100 or 200, you have somebody read through each one and categorize them. When you do this in Google Sheets, it makes it very easy to create a chart. So in this case, this is a company called Carrots Negotiating, 54% of people were dead wrong. They didn't, and unless you know the statistics about the negative aging distribution effect, this by itself doesn't tell you anything bad, because you could argue, well, who cares that 54% of people were dead wrong? They only had 5 seconds to see it. So the statistics is what really makes this a 2-part compelling story. Yeah, maybe if people naturally would spend 20 seconds on a site, they would understand, and that would be an 80% exactly right number, but that's not the case. We know from the research that if they're not understanding what we're doing, and they don't know clearly that we're going to answer the question, they're gone. They're gone within 5 to 10 seconds. In most cases, obviously, it's not a binary thing. Anyway, so we just quickly added a headline, and we did it again to 175 new respondents. We just added a headline, the world leader in business negotiating training seminars. And we asked people again, and we got 50% of respondents had it exactly right. Now this is not necessarily great, and we were continuing to test. You want to, in my opinion, you'd like to be in that 60 to 75% range of exactly right responses, but this still represents a 370% increase in exactly right responses. That's not trivial. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to have a 317% increase in conversion rate. All that means is that we could be sure that we'll have more time spent, our average time spent on site will go up, and we'll subsequently get more conversions because of that. You don't only have to run 5-second tests on a hero section of a landing page or on a product page. You could run 5-second tests on ads you're designing. And this was an example ad that I was running for a webinar. I designed it, and I just spent $30 doing the usability test first. And I asked people, what is this Facebook ad offering? Please be as descriptive as possible. I got my results, I categorized them, and only 30% of people understood within 5 or 7 seconds what this did. And that's a killer for a Facebook ad. So while people will traditionally think of 5-second tests for web assets, let's say, when you're thinking about testing, you want to be looking at it more holistically from the full picture. Like, where in your entire business are you being unclear? And that could be on your ads, it could be on your product packaging. Where are you frustrating people? Where are you not giving people a very, very clear message? This is what we do. So instead of running and spending $100,000 on Facebook ads with an ad that would have performed poorly, you could save yourself a lot of time and money by doing it really quickly. This is our homepage, and I came in and I thought this idea of salesmanship in pixels is, I don't want to get into it. I sent a 6,000 word email to my team why I thought I liked this tagline for our company. It's a long story. But we tested it against, well, first we tested that idea. We had a different headline running, and 36% of people got it right, what we do as a company. We then changed the headline to something clearer, 100% erotic digital advertising services, and we had a 55% increase, 55% exactly right response rate. That's a 53% increase in exactly right responses. And this, combined with front-loading your social proof, with optimizing the content of a page for the goal of that page, this is a trajectory of our inbound leads form submissions last year between June and November, and traffic stayed the same. So essentially tripling the amount of leads we were getting without increasing the cost of traffic, or without increasing traffic at all. And these are the types of results that are very, very attainable with proper testing and understanding these ideas. Idea number 8, 2 more left. Embrace long-form copy on your website. There's this very annoying myth that you have to be quick, and maybe that comes from just people not understanding the idea of the clarity thing, right? You have to communicate within 5 seconds. So for somehow, our industry developed this misnomer that you also have to be really short. You have to be like funny or short or whatever it is. It's just not true. It's really, really not true. Long form copy works, and the copy needs to be a good copy, obviously. And it works because the goal of a web page is not to attract the most possible amount of attention. It's to attract the most possible amount of attention from people who might buy from you. That's really the goal here. So that's a version of a page. Well, you've seen that page, a similar, that's the same company. But I'm going to show you a couple of results here. Or first, let's visualize exactly what this looks like. So say you have short copy, right? So let's just take 1,000 total minutes of attention. So you have people who are not going to buy from you. They're on your site, they're not buying today. And there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. So they give you 200 minutes of attention. People who are like, maybe, but like, I'm not ready to really purchase or fill out a sales form today, they give you 200 minutes of attention too. This is with your short copy. It's really funny. You have these great images. It's very easy to give attention to short copy. Then you have people who are like on the fence but leaning towards converting. They give you 300 minutes of attention. And the people who are your real prospects who you should be optimizing for, people who are interested in what you sell, also give you 300 minutes of attention. So that gives us 1,000 total minutes of attention. Now say you write your long copy, and it's boring, and the page looks overwhelming to people, and there's a lot of bullets, and there's a lot of images, and there's a lot of scrolling. So you're going to get less attention. So say the won't buys and the maybe knows, they give you 25 minutes of attention each. All right, so the maybes leaning towards yes, they give you the same 300 minutes of attention. But now the people who would buy give you 500 minutes of attention, and that's 850 total minutes of attention. So by the wrong standards, the long copy seems to be underperforming the short copy because you've gotten less attention. But it's really going to be significantly outperforming because the goal is to optimize your content for people who are interested in buying. That's where 99% of your revenue comes from. It's a losing proposition in 9 out of 10 cases to try to get people into the market for your services. It's not going to happen. I mean, maybe in some very rare, unique instances, but it's not the norm, certainly not the norm. The people who are on your site that are towards the bottom of the funnel, that are interested in what you have, those are the people you should cater to, and they want more information. They want, like, think about the last time we bought a car, you want something, we've all gone through like impulse purchases. But if it's any sort of significant business decision, people take spending money very seriously. And they want information, they want to read blogs, they want to read FAQs, they want that information. And especially if you're asking people for a sale or for a contact form that has a lot of personally identifiable information. Here's an example from the International Culinary Center. The left-hand side was their original landing page. The right-hand side was a redesigned landing page. And it looks nice, right? A long-form copy doesn't have to look long. It can still be visually appealing. You should still have an aesthetic that matches the brand. But the point is, don't ever be afraid to give people more information. It's just not true that like you should be as short and minimalist as possible with your copy. So we tested that. So we just go back. Those are the 2 pages, and we did an A/B test through Google Optimize. Google Optimize is a great software for this. The longer copy page performed up to 490% better. Like this is, most results aren't this good, but that's why this one's in the presentation. But it's a crazy increase. Went from an average of like a 2.5% conversion rate to like a 9 or 10% conversion rate. It was an unbelievable, huge impact. And you could use, when you do these types of tests, and you get these sorts of results, you could go into the template that you have on that landing page, and you can plug those numbers in, and you can see how much money does that translate to? What does a 490% increase in conversion rate actually mean to the bottom line of the business? Here's another example where longer copy, for the same audience, by the way, try to keep as many other variables as you can stable. Another example where longer copy performed with a 299% better than the short copy version of the same page. So that's idea number 8, embrace long form copy. Okay, but how do you do it? Long form copy is hard. So this is just a very simple step-by-step technique that I've developed that I use to write long-form copy. If you have a sales page or you have a product page and you're just sort of trying to figure out where to even start. You begin writing out a list of questions. So these 14 questions are a great place to start, and we'll typically customize them. We might take a few out, add a few in depending on the type of business it is. Make it more unique to the client. But just really simple, basic questions. Are you safe, trustworthy? What's your track record? What do you sell? And I think this slide will be made available, but if anybody wants a screenshot of this slide, let me know. So go open up a Google Doc, Google Sheet. I forgot to put this in. There's a really cool website called the mostdangerouswritingapp.com. Is anybody familiar with it? Okay, it's the coolest thing. It's a really scary thing also. Basically, it's a timer, and you can set it to 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if you stop typing for more than 3 seconds, you lose all your work. It's really, really fun. Don't use it if you have a heart condition. Because I really almost died using it. But you could also set it, there's like extreme mode where what you're writing is blurred. It's all blurred, and it really forces you to just write. So just write in long form. Use the mostdangerouswritingapp.com, a free association. It's just better to just get the words on the page. Okay, so now rewrite all your answers, minus 20%, literally. Get a word count, kill 20%. Don't sacrifice information. Omit unnecessary words. Omit redundant phrases and sentences. So if you started with 5,000 words, aim for 4,000 words. And what you really should do is take another 20 to 30% off after that in the second rewrite. And this is still, you're not in your CMS, you're not in WordPress, you're just in a Google Doc. You want to then begin breaking your paragraphs. You want to have bullet points in every paragraph. There's a lot of research on how people read on the web. They don't really read, they scan for important words that are important to them. So make sure you have a bold word or a couple of words in every bullet point. I don't think any paragraph should be longer than 2 sentences or 3 sentences as a block of text. People do not read web pages the way they read an article. So reformat all that information. So if you have 20 different bullet lists and they're all important information to your customer, keep them all in, just format them in smaller chunks. And if you do this step by step, it's a natural progression, it's pretty easy to do. Then at the end, you start thinking about images, video that might correlate with your copy. Try to avoid as much stock photography as you can. And if you follow this process, I think Unsplash, anybody familiar with Unsplash.com? Unsplash is a great resource for free, high quality, photographic images that are not stock images. So it's a great resource, Unsplash.com, and it's free. So I use this process myself, my team uses it, and it helps keep copy readable while not sacrificing content for the sake of brevity. So those are the 9 ideas. Where are we holding the time? Okay, we have just gone on time. So just a quick review, we did the confidence matrix. Again, if you want that, let me know, because I don't think it's on that landing page. Front-loading your social proof, optimizing content for the goal of that page, analyzing and predicting financial impact, the financial impact of an improved conversion rate, profit, revenue sensitivity, that math, there's a template for that as well, abandoning statistics, running cost-effective 5-second tests, and there's a lot of companion data up on that bit.ly/DGU page, DGU 2019. Embracing long copy and when that makes sense, and a step-by-step process for writing better long-form copy. I hope some of these things are practical or useful. If anybody's interested, I teach a lot more of this type of content on conversion optimization. The course is about 12 hours long. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. You get lifetime access. I'm always adding new lectures. You can go to bit.ly/CRO today. And there's a bunch of different additional bonuses that you get with that purchase. So again, bit.ly/CRO today. It's a really great course. I think there's something like 25,000, 30,000 students in there. So that's that. If you have any questions, I'm here. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was practical. I know it wasn't inspiring, but hopefully you'll be a better marketer. Thank you very much, guys.
Keep going for Isaac.
Anybody have questions or whatever it is?
Yeah, who's got questions for Isaac? Go ahead.
Okay, this is going to be a really silly question, but you mentioned that what we love to do is to show landing page for 5 seconds to the user, which I think is a really cool idea. What tool do you use to do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Usabilityhub.com it's my tool of choice. There's also Helio, but usabilityhub.com is what I use. You can choose how many respondents, you can choose where those respondents are, their age group, their technical proficiency, gender. I'm not sure about income, but it's a great tool. So in the webinar handout, that download on that page, I walk you through how I use Usability Hub and how I do that 3-category export and chart creation.
I was just going to ask, what was the ask on the long form copy that converted so well?
The one with a 400% increase, it was an enrollment form for, they were a culinary school in New York City. So it's they're not asking for money, but it's like, I don't know, 15 fields or something like that. And implicitly with that form, students know, or prospects know that they're gonna get called back by a salesperson. So it's not like a secondary conversion. Yeah, so that's when that program, and the idea is like people looking for a culinary school, like it's a serious decision. Like I'm going to school, it's like a career, it's like not a joke. So they want to know like what is this sommelier program all about? Like why should I go here? Because it's not like there's no competition, there's the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America upstate. So that's when the long form copy works with culinary school, enrollment form.
Any other questions? I got one for you.
Yeah.
So I have a personal interest in this because I run a video marketing agency. So on landing pages, how have you seen video sales letters or testimonials, video testimonials or case studies increase conversions on landing pages?
They typically do increase conversion rates, and that's another reason. That's part of why I was suggesting that you bring those testimonials higher up. But they have to be good testimonials. So that people have a very good internal. What's the word?
Bullshit detector.
Yeah, a bullshit detector. Very strong internal detector when there's like a radar that goes off. So if you have legitimate testimonials from legitimate clients and customers, review testimonials are great. I started in the last 6 months to a year captioning all my videos. I use rev.com because a lot of people now are watching video without sound. And actually I've been noticing a trend that brands now, when they produce commercials and videos, they actually have like a call to action, like it's better with sound on, because people were finding that people were watching videos without sound. YouTube will auto-generate captions, but rev.com is like $1 a minute, and they're finished within 10 minutes of you submitting the order. So captioning videos as much as you can, and definitely putting those testimonials higher up. Yeah. All right.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you very much. Oh,
Sorry, one more.
yeah.
We have a landing page right now where we have a 50% off discount that we're offering at the top, but we also have content that we're asking them to download. Do you think that's too many call to actions on one landing page?
So the thing at the, what is it that you're selling?
It's a profile essentially. It's like a product.
Okay, so you're saying it's 50% off.
Yeah.
And what is there that they could do with that? Is that is it a form submission? Is it a sales page?
It's a form submission at the top, and then on the right-hand column, it has the white paper that we want them to download. All they have to do is click the download button and then put their.
So there's 2 forms on the page.
The one on the right, there is no form, but the top is a form.
So the one on the right is a button. I just want to understand what it is. And the button brings you where? To another form?
To a white paper.
So the button brings you to a white paper.
Yeah.
So that's the secondary call to action.
Yeah.
And what's the primary call to action?
It's the take this offer essentially. It's the form at the top.
And are there 2 forms?
No, only one form at the top.
So the 50% offer. Well, how would a person claim that offer?
So they fill it out, and then we get a notification, and our salesperson follows up with that.
Okay, so then there's that main call to action where you have to fill something out, and then there's a separate something to fill out in the right-hand column, which is like the white paper.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that I would certainly test having one call to action, because if you're doing, listen, the 50% off it's a great offer. Like sales work, scarcity works, these things work if it's done well. A secondary call to action might imply to a person, you can get some of the value that you're getting with this offer for free today. There's no pressure. Read more what we're about and come back. I would take whatever information is in that white paper, distill it to the essential bullet points, put that on the landing page next to the primary call to action saying, here's why you need to get this today. It's 50% off. This offer won't last forever.